what I developed here with my colleagues is a design program. And a lot of folks see design as art, an artistic expression, and it isn't at all. Artistic expression creates question in the viewer. They wonder how something could be, or what that actually is. What does that mean? What is that thing on a wall? You know, that kind of stuff. Design should never be questioned. Design needs to explain itself if it's done right. There's a lot of bad design out in the world. There isn't bad art. Art is either there or it's not. Design, it's got to be tested. So we take a lot of time within the programs developing systems with students for them to quantitatively test their designs. It's called usability studies. In game design, we call it play testing, where we actually have a bunch of users experience the design, test the design, and respond to the design so the designer can improve it. So that the designer can reiterate and improve the design. And that's a really, really important part of designing in any media or medium. With art, you can create something that nobody else understands but you, and it can still be beautiful to you and successful. With design, unless your user can use it, it's a failure. So we have to develop systems that force students to qualify the effectiveness of their designs. And that uses math, and that uses testing procedures, and challenges the mind of the student in a way that art really never can.
So what about those instances where you had to work students through developing some of that stuff? Were there moments of challenge in your own teaching where you had to kind of change the way you thought you were going to do something, or come back at another class period to go re-go over something that to help them to better understand, to do it better? Maybe in thinking about some of those play testing moments where students came back and said, this didn't work for me and I don't know what to do, and how you might have helped them through that kind of process?
I think the hardest thing for designers to understand is that the design is for somebody else. And somebody else's experience of the design is what makes it a good design or a bad design. Mm-hmm. We ourselves don't reflect when our designs are successful. We like them, but other people might not, right? So one of the most important things that we teach in the usability process is for the student to learn to get outside of their head. Mm. And we develop with them empathy, which is a difficult thing to teach. How do you teach somebody else's perspective on the world? How do you recognize somebody else's experience of your design? And so we work through with the students this process until they can begin to see outside of themselves. Stop living in what we call the land of the ego. Okay, the land. Most artists have to live in a land of the ego. It's got to be about their perspective and their point of view. A designer can't successfully do that. So how do we overcome this? We do a lot of narrative writing with students to express what the end user is about. So for example, I've got to design a post office application for the web for a person to be able to buy stamps. When I'm living in the land of the ego, I do it from what Reese needs. Well, okay, I've only got 5 minutes in between answering emails at work right? But we then assign the student, say, okay, fine. Now I want you to be a bus driver, and you're working 12-hour shifts, and you live in an apartment without a computer or a computer network. You've got to go to the library during library hours, sign on there, and be able to do your postage work on that computer, or at the post office in certain hours. What does that mean? What are your limitations? When a student begins to have to think through the actual process that somebody with different capabilities and or challenges meets, they begin to step outside themselves. And so it's a series of exercises we do again and again and again, giving them another personality, another personality, another personality, soccer mom, whatever it is, we just throw it at them, and they have to experience. And after a while, they begin developing the techniques necessary to have design empathy for their users.